And so I thought it'd be a great time for us to not only have some review of what we've already talked about, so it doesn't matter if you've attended before or not. The concepts are absolutely fabulous in the overall Course in Miracles. And to start off, I'm Karen Williams, and I'll be your lead workshop teacher today. And Wendy Wonderley is going to be the jack of all trades. Whatever we want her to be, she will be for us today. So we're going to start off, though, with today's lessons in the Course in Miracles. You know, it has 365 lessons. And in case you pick up this big book and you're saying, oh, I don't want to read it all, that's what this class is about, to go over kind of a review. But the other thing is really, if anything, do the workbook lessons. Even if you don't have an intellectual understanding about them and you say, well, that just doesn't seem quite right, they're working on your spirit. They really are. They're talking to you. And so Wendy's going to start off with the prayer, really. Today's lessons, which is lesson 232.
Thank you, Karen. Does anybody need handouts? Super. Okay. One more set. Two more sets, I think. Here. Thank you. Tana. You bet. Two. Okay. So as Karen said, this is today's lesson. We're on day 232 of the year. We've made it this far, right? So here we go. Take a deep breath, in and out. Be in my mind, my Lord, through the day. Be in my mind, my Lord, when I wake, and shine on me throughout the day-to-day. Let every minute be a time in which I dwell with you. And let me not forget my hourly thanksgiving that you have remained with me and always will be here to hear my call to you and answer me. As evening comes, let all my thoughts still be of you and of your love. Let me sleep sure of my safety, certain of your care, and happily aware that I am your child. This is as every day should be. Today, practice the end of fear. Have faith in God, who is your creator. Trust all things to God. Let God reveal all things to you, and be you undismayed, because you are God's child. And so it is.
And so it is. And we're very relaxed, by the way, for this workshop, in that if you want coffee, you want something to eat, whatever you need to do, you just get up, you do it. We do welcome those that are online. We're very thankful that you too are joining us, and so we appreciate that a great deal. We're going to go over what Alan Cohen, in his book, A Course in Miracles, everything you always wanted to know about the Course in Miracles but didn't want to have to read the whole course to find out. We're going to kind of jump around in that a little bit. I just wore this for the entire service before me, and for some reason it's... Use this one?
Well, I think to cool them together is why you're getting it.
Okay. So just a little technical thing. Should I take this off, Andy? Or not? I think if I don't touch it, I think I'm fine. It's just I've been touching it. You know me. It's like, don't scratch it. Yeah, right.
Can I help you with the microphone?
Yes, thank you. I don't know, because I just wore it for the whole service, so I don't know quite if my ears changed between then and now, and
They must be burning.
they just, yeah.
Doesn't really stay bent.
I think we'll be all right. We'll go with it.
Okay.
We'll go with it. So I need, first of all, for those of you that have attended some of the workshops, anybody have any comments, any thoughts about different things that you're thinking about? we may not always address them all right up front, but please know that Wendy and I will make a note of the questions and come back to them at some point as we go through the Course in Miracles. Anyone? Or is it something to share?
I'll share something. I was just telling Maria, Anna-Marie? I was just telling her earlier that when I first started thinking about getting into this, and I started with the disappearance of the universe because I thought it would be a little bit more approachable, hearing about that guy's journey through it. And Wendy and Karen said, if you do this, your life is going to change. And I have a desire to control, and because I really value order, and I was holding on to a lot of hatred. And I'm starting to see that shift. In my professional life, I come into contact with a lot of people who are very confrontational, and I'm finding that my fear of confrontation is lowering because I'm not being moved by it. I'm not being shifted by it. So I'm really grateful for this being brought into our community.
Thank you. Thank you. Anyone else?
I just wanted to say that regardless of how and when I read these things, I started out with the Course in Miracles book, but then I got this Made Easy. And this really speaks to me because every time I pick it up, I find exactly the verse or the words that I need, because I'm going through a very difficult time right now, but I find myself more centered because of this.
Oh, fantastic. Yeah, Alan Cohen is a lovely individual, a great teacher, and it really is a pretty fabulous, I think it's a good counter in some ways to Gary Renard's book, The Disappearance of the Universe, which is a lot thicker too, that this is a very nice introduction, but not to underestimate the power of just these concepts that we're going to walk through.
And kudos to you for being in tune with that and playing that and having that. What a wonderful thing. And you too, Dave. How wonderful. Isn't life better now?
Anyone else before I want? Yes. And will you just say your name before you speak, just so that
My name is Joyce.
Thank you,
And
Joyce.
Thank you for the microphone because I'm very soft-spoken. So, well, this is my first day here, and I have been going through the last couple of months, last couple of years, a lot of hardship with health and life, and just in the last 2 months, a lot of level upping. You know, if anybody knows what I'm talking about, like a lot of spiritual growth, a lot of learning. It's been like nonstop, and I just happened to move right down the road, less than 2 minutes away from here. I was like, guides were like, you need to look into this, you need to, so I've been like, I haven't been able to get a day off. I just happened to get a day off today. I'm a cosmetologist, we don't get weekends off, ever. So like, and then last night I was directed to look at the YouTube stuff, and I'm like, oh yeah, and I've already started to look into the books and getting all these things, but I literally was directed to come here for this purpose, for this course, so that I could, and to meet all of y'all. I'm from Texas too, all y'all, so that for the purpose of, you know, leveling up with everybody. So this is the right group. So I just wanted to.
Well, welcome, Joyce. Welcome. And wow, what it just really spoke to my heart. You know,
Can I say one more thing? Just for you, just so you all can hear this. One of the things that I've been learning is feeling that God's love. The other day, I really, truly felt it like it's like a punch in the stomach, and at the same time, it's like I want to cry and laugh and everything at the same time. When you started speaking this morning, I felt that for the first time I've ever been to a church. I felt that. I felt the love Spirit has for you,
Right.
and it's beautiful.
Thank you. Thank you. And it's the divine. It's the divine. You know, it really truly is.
love when you started
Yeah. Thank you. Anyone else? Oh,
Just
over
one
here.
thing real quick is that, I think I'm loud enough.
And say your name, just so we can.
Beverly, and as I've been going through this with feelings and a lot of different things, what I find is that I tend to feel that I go maybe 2 or 3 steps forward and then 2 or 3 backwards, and not feeling well, all kinds of stuff. I don't know that that's promoted enough. I wasn't that aware. I'm thinking, well, I guess it's not working, but it is working. It's the body is being cleansed and healed, and as it's doing that, you may not have any energy, you may have headaches, you may feel, I don't know, diarrheas, all kinds of stuff. That's happening as this is going, as you're cleansing. And again, I know it, maybe it's frightening to people to think that they may go that fast, but that's all part of it. And again, as you said, to bless and rejoice. I didn't in the beginning, but I'm now starting to say,
Wonderful.
okay, it means it's working, and I'm going, and then it seems like then as that passes, I feel like I'm on a little higher level. I'm still not there, but anyway, I feel like I'm just a little higher, or maybe I can love a little more, feel a little more joy or something, but I had to get some of this crud out before I could take that next step.
Oh,
Go ahead, Wendy.
absolutely. And then maybe can I suggest that instead of thinking of it as linear, as 3 steps forwards and 3 steps back, think of it as a spiral. And as you feel like you're in the same place, but you're up and up and up and up. And it, well, there is an ending point to it,
But God takes the last step,
Okay, thank you.
which means you do your spiritual work, and then He's going to reach down and He's going to help you up in that last step. And I was thinking when you're sharing that the hero's journey, which is Joseph Campbell's, we're all on this journey, and the thing about as you listen to the talk this morning is that there is the Spirit with you. It's walking with you. I think of that as Jesus. You may think of it as Archangel Michael. You may think of it as Mother Mary. Hopefully you go a little greater than your Aunt Matilda, okay? But if that's all you got, take whoever it is, all right? But they're walking with you. But not only that, he's already or she's already gone before you and has cleared a lot of the boulders out of the way. But as you're walking, you're going to hit some of those boulders. Now, hopefully, if you learn from it, then you're going to say out, and you're going to say, okay, what can I learn about this now? And then you'll walk. But you know what? You might hit that boulder again, because there's another little piece to learn about letting go, surrendering, not having attachment. So it's all in that journey. And truly, as Buddha said, the worst mistake you can make is not to start it and not to end it. And how wonderful that is. And it's kind of like today with the stages of all the different ways that players come in and out. I mean, all of us end up being that whiny schoolgirl, schoolboy at some point. But the difference is that now we recognize it doesn't serve us well. And maybe the time where before it would have been, hey, you were in that whiny place for a day, now you're only in it for a short time. You see, it's all about that journey and learning. That's what the purpose is, learning those lessons. So then you don't have to keep banging and hurting yourself and falling, on the rocks and the pebbles and everything that's before you. Fantastic. Well, we're going to go ahead and jump right in here on the number 1 for Alan Cohen's Everything You Wanted to Know About the Course, but didn't want to read the whole course. Somebody read number 1 for me, nice and loud.
Only God is real. All separation is illusion.
Thank you. Thank you. How do you separate from all that is? It's laughable. That's the point of the Course. It's saying it's all an illusion. You can't separate from me. The reason that you're going through this human experience in the body, surrounded yourself in the garment of skin that you have, and that each person looks different than the person next to you. We're only one. And because we had a mad idea at one point, thinking we could separate from all that is, which is laughable. You can't do it. But that fractured us, and so that's why we're all different shapes, we're all different colors, we're all different personalities. But part of the journey in the Course in Miracles is come back to unity, the oneness, the universe, the one song, which is us all together. So that's the point of only God is real, all separation is an illusion. So I know this is probably the most difficult concept in the Course in Miracles is when they're telling you that what you're seeing around you, what you're projecting, and what you're seeing on that world stage, and even in your own home and on that little piece of the puzzle on that stage, that it's not real. And people can get really hung up with that. And I would say don't worry about that as much as get the concept you cannot separate from God, because that will put you on the journey. And the Course in Miracles says it's a journey without distance to a place you've always been. That mad idea of I can be separate from God just puts you asleep. So we're basically sleepwalking in this dream, but we're in fact in heaven. So all of it, only God is real. And read number, because we're going to jump around a little bit, number 7. Somebody come out and read number 7 for us.
Number 7, beyond the apparent world is the real world, where everything you desire and deserve exists. You can step into the real world at any moment by remembering your identity as a spiritual being.
All right. Thank you, Tana. So it's in the mind, you see. It's the consciousness that you have in your mind. And in your mind, at any moment, you can step into that real world of I am not separate from God. I am a spiritual being connected. I am as God created me. I will to be that Christ. Christ meaning the God within me at every moment and every day. It's a great Course concept. And if you look at a review sheet, which is the worlds, we've done that already, but I want to refer to those a little bit because I like to come back to these 3 worlds so that you can help all of us together can understand what we're talking about when we're talking about our mind. The first world is God, heaven, bliss, and knowing. Now, when I say bliss, it means literally blissed out. Wendy and I, moved from Arizona a couple years ago. Sedona, there's a lot of bliss bunnies in Sedona. You've heard me say that before, with all their vortexes and everything. But blissed out is literally aware that there's the divine around you. Now, edible mushrooms can do this for you too, all right? And sometimes the most creative things that come from people is when they have been taking some kind of mind-altering. Basically, God is always saying to us, you are absolutely perfect. If you walk away with nothing else from today's talk at Unity or the workshop now, walk away with that concept. I am perfect, divine. And it's not egotistical. If you in any way want to say, oh, and that makes me better than that person, that's not divine, that's the ego. I am perfect. If we woke up every day and said, I am perfect, I am holy, I am in heaven with God, I am not separate. I have all the tools I need to make this day the best day it can be. I mean, that's what this is about. It's about being in that consciousness of that world. And if you really get it, actually you will ascend out of this world. You'll be like Elijah in the Bible, you know. He just ascended up. If you're familiar from some of your maybe Sunday school or Bible days, Elijah, he just ascended up because his mind and consciousness was there. Now you and I have enough consciousness of an ego that we don't want to fight. You never fight the ego, but don't ever think it's your friend. I say that over and over again. The ego, with that edging God out. But we have enough of it in us that keeps us in this body because we're not a body. And that's part of the concepts we will get to. That's why we say dust to dust, right? Ashes to ashes at a funeral. Is that you're really not a body, but that you're an eternal being living here and having a sense of external, but you're not. You're an eternal spirit being. That's the holy mind of God. That's the first world. But we thought we could separate from God. We end up in this place where we're just slipping in our mind. That's the mad idea. If we had just let it go and said to God, well, isn't this laughable? How could I separate from all that is? If we had laughed at it, then we would be able to say, well, that's ridiculous. And we would stay in that consciousness of the divine. But instead, we ended up in what we call Eden, symbolic of the Garden of Eden. And there you have these choices you have to make. And the choices are always in that knowledge of the tree of good and evil. The choices are always two things, love or fear. Are you doing what you're doing now today out of love, or is it only because you're afraid? Think about it. Most of us live our time not in the present moment. We live it dealing with what's already happened in the past, reading today based on yesterday, or we're in our mind, what if we're in the future? And Eckhart Tolle, you know, is written numerous books about staying in the present. It's just that it's really tough to live in the now. It really is. But it is the place of, doesn't matter what happens around you. The situation is just the situation. It is as is. It's only your reaction and how you perceive that going on that's going to cause you to be in fear or to be at peace and love or joy. So that's the world where we're making a choice. If you think about it in your chakras, those energy centers, the first three is your crown, your third eye, your throat chakra. That's the divine. Then you go through your shoulder responsibility. It's like a veil. You slip down, and then you're in your heart. And if all of us just lived in our heart, we would already have a perfect society almost. It's just that we don't. But in the heart, you're conflicted. And the conflict is always love or fear. The two basic emotions that we have. But there is a conflict. And the more you exercise love, decision after decision after decision, is this the most loving thing to do? When you're sitting there and say, I don't know what to do, then ask yourself, okay, am I afraid? Okay, if I'm afraid, what's the most loving thing I can do for me right now? And do it. Okay, I'm sad. Okay, what's the most loving, what's the most joyous thing I can do for me right now? Oh, I feel angry and I'm at conflict and I want to fight. I'm at war. What's the most peaceful thing you can do right now? That's the divine. That's the divine. This is the divine that says, hey, you need to be there tomorrow. Why don't you listen to this and find out more about how to make these decisions? So this is the heart. This is the conflict that it's conflicted. It is. But we have the ability to choose and say, I'm not going to separate from God. I'm going to be one with God, and I'm going to do what is the most blissful thing I can do, and the truth. Knowing is the same as the truth. It's the knowledge of the truth. I don't know. I mean, I wore this the whole hour before, and some reason I can't wear it now.
I think
You
maybe
need to be
the
at
back
peace
of
about
it.
this, Karen.
I mean,
Some of-
I'm conflicted, but I choose peace.
I
This will
think,
all
I think
be
this will pick
corrected.
you up.
Okay.
I think we'll just do that.
It was working. It was working though, right? All right. Here we go.
All right. Can you hear me okay? There we go. All right. And then I put on your sheet too to help us kind of understand these different concepts of the mind. And this is my own doing. It's not credited to Michael Murdad in his book, The Heart of the Course in Miracles, and our spiritual teacher out of Sedona. But this one is, oh, holy mind of God, I am born good, the end. That's the holy consciousness, the divine consciousness. That's our true being. That's our knowingness in the sense of I know the truth. And then in the Eden part, where there's reality or using your right mind, where you're making that decision to love, joy, peace, abundance, I choose to be holy or not. It's a choice. That's our higher consciousness is putting that. And then if you are making decisions basically with the ego on this earth, which is symbolic of hell, in case you wondered, this is the hell. There's not a place to go that's called hell. We live it every day. It's here. That's the illusion part. That's the wrong mind. That's the part that says, holy crap, this sucks. Those are all our misperceptions. On your other sheet that you have, that Wendy kindly put together, there is a lesson 132, which is the second one. And would somebody like to read that on your sheet? It's workbook lesson 132. It's right after the first one that's on it.
I loose the world from all I thought it was. To free the world from every kind of pain is but to change your mind about yourself. There is no world apart from your ideas, because ideas leave not their source, and you maintain the world within your mind in thought.
Right. That's right out of the workbook. That where is your consciousness at? If it's in love, then it will be loving. If it's not in love, then it's not going to be able to reveal that. Your ideas never leave their source. So you have to ask, what's the source of this idea? You know? And haven't we all been in situations where we realize, wow, that did not go well in my thinking. I think that I just got slammed. I don't like that thought. And usually, if you stay with it long enough, you discover in that tracking process, we're not going to get into that, but it's on the 5 steps of the soul healing process. Part of that, what I call tracking, which is really what we're talking about here, is I'm trying to move forward, but then I find myself going back a few steps, but I'm really on this journey. That's the tracking part of it. Is, well, how come do I feel back here? Oh, there's another little piece of it. And that in that tracking, you realize in that, I feel this fear. Oh, yeah. You know, it comes from a sense of really low self-worth. Not being good enough. And then you realize, oh, well, is that the truth of God? Who says, you're perfect. So you're a creative person, or say you're a musician, you know, and you wake up and God's saying you're perfect, but yet your head says, well, if I was a perfect musician, where's my label record? Right? If I'm a perfect artist, then how come I can't sell my paintings? You see, that's fear. That's fear. coming in. If I'm a perfect person, then how come I can't pay my bills? See, that's the ego. That's the ego that bangs on you constantly and says you're not perfect. It says, that's not the truth about you. But you have to be able to say, oh, wait a minute, I know the truth. I know the truth. I don't know how that bill's going to get paid, but I'm willing to find out, God. I'm willing to receive. Maybe I have to get on the phone and maybe I have to say, hey, I can only pay half the bill this month. That's okay. But I can guarantee if you take that spirit, it will come. It will come. The ability to have the kind of abundance and joy and peace will come if you're not attached to the things around you. Yeah, so that's that consciousness that we're looking at. And if somebody wants to read the next one, which is workbook lesson 182,
I will be still an instant and go home. You have not lost your innocence. This is the voice you hear, and this is the call which cannot be denied. Now the way is open, and the journey has an end in sight at last. Be still an instant, go home with God, and be at peace.
wow. Wow. Yeah. Coming before the presence of the divine, which is in you and is all around you, but being able to say, be still and know the truth. I mean, it's an absolutely key in the world that we live in, which is so noisy. And that's what I was trying to say this morning. It's so noisy. It's all this noise, and it's just getting louder, and it's getting louder. And part of what the Course teaches in concept is you have to get away from that noise and be still. And whatever that means for you, coming to a service like this is those moments where you're saying, be still. Be still. I'm going to move away from all the things going on in life and everything that has any concern with problems. I'm going to move away from that, and I'm just going to have my heart be still and be quiet. So the thoughts come, but you let them go. You just let them go. And unity is a master at meditation. The best meditations I have ever been in have been in this building. They're masters at the meditations of saying, take that moment, be silent, be quiet. And sometimes you have to tell your ego, be quiet, in order to hear the other voice. The ego only gets louder and louder and louder. Have you noticed that in the world too? That people who want to make a point, they just say it louder. There's nothing new that they're saying, they're just saying it louder. And they think, well, the more I repeat it, the lie, or the more that I state it, then people are going to believe it. But that's not the case if you're willing to be silent and say, what's the truth? What's the truth? And the truth is I am as God created me. I will to be that divine presence in my life and to show it in the world around me. It's absolutely fabulous. The next one, lesson 227. This is my holy instant. Somebody want to read that one?
Lord, it is today that I am free, because my will is yours. I thought to make another will, yet nothing that I thought apart from you exists. And I am free because I was mistaken and did not affect my own reality at all by my movement.
Right. There's nothing you can do to change the fact you are as God created you to be, and you are perfect in His sight. and will always be. I mean, do you just soak up the course as it's presenting itself here? It's, to me, this is the holy instant. That's what it is. It's the holy instant. That moment when I realize, oh, that's just an illusion. Yeah, that's my name, but I'm not my name on my passport. I'm not my weight. I'm not my height. I'm not someone's daughter. I'm not someone's wife or someone's husband. I am as God created me to be. And that's what I will always be. I mean, it's absolutely amazing, I think. Okay, and the next one, let's go ahead and read that. That's textbook 21. By the way, these are references out of the Course in Miracles book, the blue book. And that T is for textbook, and it's the 21 in part 2.
This is the only thing that you need to do for vision, happiness, release from pain, and complete escape from sin, all to be given you. Say only this, but mean it with no reservation, for here the power of salvation lies. I am responsible for what I see. I choose the feelings I experience, and I decide upon the goal I would achieve. And everything that seems to happen to me, I ask for and receive as I have asked. To see yourself no longer, you are helpless in the face of what is done to you. Acknowledge but that you have been mistaken, and all effects of your mistakes will disappear.
Now that's a powerful statement. Every error you made, every mistake you made, isn't going to get recorded against you, but can actually be changed. The effects of your bad decisions, in fact, can be changed, but not in the same consciousness that you got yourself into the trouble with. And actually, I think if you want to keep doing these workshops, I think the next one that Wendy and I will do is in October, if the spiritual leadership here wants us to do the workshop. And I think it's going to talk about the lesson in the Course that says, no matter what, I can be at peace. And I can change the effects or the results of bad decisions I have made. It goes on this line of whatever you're deciding, your choice in your heart of love and fear, every time that decision is made out of fear, and it's kind of taken out then on the world, that's kind of creating what we would call bad karma. And the Course actually says, you can change your consciousness, you can actually change all of the effects that would have. My aunt, who passed away this year, and I did her funeral, and at the graveside service, I talked about pennies collected in a jar. My aunt and my uncle, Aunt Shirley and my Uncle John, had a coin collection that they divided among their 5 children when they both passed. But I said in that service that every kindness that my Aunt Shirley ever did, every kind word, every kind act, was like a penny put in a jar in heaven. And then God takes it and he multiplies it over and over and over again, almost tenfold. But anytime it was unkind remark, it was just forgotten. And so after the service, I got this lovely card from all of my cousins. And in it, they put a 1908 penny and said that spoke so much to their hearts. And I was so grateful, because I had forgotten about their coin collection when I mentioned it. Talk about spirit, bring it up. What do you say? You know, spirit, whatever comes out of this mouth, I'm here, I'm willing to be the vessel. Speak to each heart that's in the room. Help them walk away with something. And to me, it's so true. We think, oh, God is keeping marks. That's what fundamental Christianity is, right? that you go to Sunday school, and the first thing they say to you is that you got to be good, and if you're not good, like Jesus, then you're going to get in trouble, which is a control, right? And then you're like, well, what the hell? He was divine and I'm not, right? I mean, that's not right. How's that fair? You know, but truly, what's going on in the world is a lot of fundamental evangelical Christian nationalism that is talking about a war between good and evil, but they're defining what that good is in their own truth, and they're willing to accumulate a great deal of guns, and I have nothing against guns. I don't understand assault rifles at all. I don't know what you would ever shoot or to eat or why that would be allowed. That's my personal feeling about it. But the fact that you would have a gun for the purpose of your own truth, as you define that truth, is I am better than you, who happen to be transgender or gay or an immigrant. I mean, to me, that's not the truth. The truth is we are all equal. We are all perfect in the eyes of God. And we are there to be his holy child. And when we recognize that, the power to stand up and say, no, it's not going to be this. It's not going to be that. Not in my life. Do with me what you will, but for me and mine, I'll serve the living God. I'll be the mind, I'll be the presence, I'll walk in that peace. It's absolutely, to me, fabulous. I didn't have time to say it this morning, but hey, I got a little bit of time now, right? That when I think about it, when Jesus is on that cross, okay, because they came up with treason, and an innocent, only loving man who walked this earth, and he's on the cross. First thing is while he's on his way to the place called Skull, where they have the crosses, that he's carrying that cross, just the crossbeam, not the whole cross, and there's 3 women weeping. And you know what Jesus does? He goes up to him and he says, "Don't cry for me." Is that power or what? Because what he was saying is, hey, I'm okay. They can't do anything to me. I'm an eternal being. I have a Father, God. Don't cry for me. So then he's on the cross, and can you imagine? He's looking down, and even in that place, he still did his responsibilities that were determined being a human being on this earth. And he says to the apostle who was the closest to, John, the beloved John, who wrote the Gospel of John and Revelations. Now that's out there. He says, John, this is my mother. Mother, here's your son. And John, here's your mother. Why did he do that? Because the elder son, which is Jesus, was responsible for the widowed mother, or responsible for the mother. So on the cross, he's saying, I'm taking care of this. John, take care of my mother. Mom, you'll be okay. John will be there for you in this world that we live in, this patriarch world that we live in. Amazing. Are you not surprised then that he's between 2 criminals, and this one says, hey, King of the Jews, you think you're so big and you're so powerful. Get us out of this mess, will you? And what did the other one do? He said, kind of, in my words, shut up. Hey, we took things from people. We were harmful to other people. And in that harm, we deserve where we're standing. This man's done nothing. He's done nothing. and never has to hurt anyone. So he was watching Jesus, right? How did he get to the point of being able to say that? Because he was watching Jesus, going through it. And that's the whole point. When Jesus went to that Garden of Gethsemane, he didn't say, God, get me out of this. I don't want this to happen. I'm going to end up dying. He said, get me through it. That's the prayer. Get me through it. And then this man says that, this criminal. And Jesus turns to him and says, this day you'll be with me in paradise. And why did he say that? Because the man had totally changed his consciousness. He said, you're not buying the illusion anymore. You're in the truth. And the truth will set you free. So you will be in paradise. I mean, isn't that amazing? Gives chills to me, actually. Really, just that you can live with that kind of assurance in our life, that kind of consciousness in our life. It's not out of grasp. It's not. I mean, Wendy and I could tell you story after story of being on a journey with the Course in Miracles, and I'm so grateful that we're doing that together in this journey. But, I mean, just things that otherwise would have triggered us, and it's like, It's not that you don't notice it or that you deny it. That's not at all. But it's just you get through it. You get through it because you know the truth. You know the truth. Amazing. And did you have something to share? Somebody else? Oh, here.
Well, I was thinking this morning. I am soft spoken. Sorry. I was thinking this morning whenever you mentioned the hatred that comes along with different religious groups and whatever else. Just the general hatred of people for being different. And whenever I was sitting here thinking this morning, I kind of got some insight into that. That happens to me a lot, y'all. Get used to that one because it's always flooded. But
Hold the mic up more so we can.
yeah, I got a lot of insight into that. And one of the things I guess that I needed to say is that this is, I feel like I should convey to everyone is, and this is going to come out jumbled, and I'm sorry, but is that this is our school, our playground, that the matrix or whatever you want to call it, that is not real, so that we can learn to find that true love that is God and realize that separation is not reality. And so everything that we are thinking and feeling on this earth is part of that teaching process. So maybe the fact that there's people out there that are different and you don't necessarily like them, that's your fear speaking, which is actually the opposite of love, not hatred. And that you need to, it's put there so that you can learn something from it, like compassion and true love, which is the last thing that Jesus, before he rose, what said to us. There's nothing else that's important now but to love each other as yourself. And that's one of the things that bothers me on a day-to-day is there's so many religious organizations that say, God hated this and God hated that. And I'm like, that was before, well, I have a whole theory on that by itself, but it does not matter after God himself died and gave that blood. There is no other atonement that's big enough. All you need to do now is and love. That's it. That's all you need to do. And learn from those moments, because that's what we're here for, is to learn and to reconnect with God's source.
Thank you very much for sharing that. What I thought when you were saying that is that when we thought we could separate from God, we forgot who we are, right? So forgetting who we are, and what happened then is we took our one self and we dismembered us in fractions. So that's all of us are a piece of, there's only one of us here is what the Course says. We haven't talked a lot about that, but there's only one of us here, meaning there's one mind. And in that mind and in this dream, we fractured ourselves. And so the purpose of remembering is remember it. Rather than dismember, you now are remembering back. And when you start to remember who you are, then you wake up, and guess what? You begin to influence people around you also to wake up. And we could change the consciousness of this world. You know, I mean, the reality of what the Course in Miracles is saying to us is climate change, weather change. There's no power in any of that. It's coming, everything's coming out because our collective consciousness has this kind of hatred. Our collective consciousness has the kind of weather patterns because we've forgotten who we are, and we've forgotten Mother Earth and what she means to us. And how people are treating the earth, you can often reflect back as how they think about their own mother. So we can change that consciousness and have peace. I mean, Jesus was in a boat with a great storm, and he's sleeping, and finally his disciples say to him, "Hey, don't you think you should wake up? The storm's kind of big." He stands up and he just says, "Be quiet." He says, "Hey, this has no impact on my consciousness." I mean, he's saying, my consciousness is so complete. There's nothing that has power over my ability and consciousness connected to God. Now that's power. I mean, that's like, wow. And some of us actually can get a sense of that sometimes. I don't know about you, but I've quieted a few barking dogs in my life and said, I'm not going to let that bother me. I don't know if they continued to bark and I just didn't hear them then, but I know I was laying in bed with a neighbor's dog barking, 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 and it's like, shh, quiet, quiet, quiet. I didn't hear it. I went out and I did the yard and I hit a hornet's nest in the ground. I didn't know that they could actually like burrow into the ground, but they can. I probably had a dozen hornets bites right at that time. And I screamed for Wendy because I was taking my clothes off and I didn't want to have a hornet go in the house with me because of the cats. Because they rule, you know, they rule the house, the cats. So I said, check, just make sure I don't have anything. And then I went and I took 2 Benadryl. And then I said, how long will this sting? And Wendy told me about 2 hours. But at that point, it's like, really, truly, it didn't bother me. I'm not telling you I didn't feel it. I'm just telling you, it's like, I'm not a body. Again, the concept of the Course is, I'm not a body. How could this hurt? Jesus goes to the crucifixion and goes up to these 3 women and says, don't cry for me. I mean, start to tell fundamental Christians that Jesus didn't suffer when they wear crosses. You know, and half of it is, how can I suffer? And only if I suffer enough will I, get the religion I'm looking for. No, that's not at all the religion that Jesus had, not one bit. He said, you have this issue, this health issue. I look at you, I don't see that health issue in you at all. And when you begin to match your consciousness to the consciousness I have, and you too believe that that cannot be an issue for you, then you'll be healed. That's the healing. That's the healing that took place. It wasn't a magical power, and he says you can do even greater things than I do. Now, he does. One time, a gentleman comes who's blind, and he says, okay, the gentleman believed that Jesus could heal his blindness, and he could see again. And he did. But then Jesus says to him, go put some mud on your eyes. You ever wonder why? He's already healed, right? Why did Jesus say that? Because the man believed he had to do something. See, and that's what I'm saying, respect the illusion. I just got stung by 12 hornets or wasps, whatever they were. Every one of them got me in places that were kind of tender too. Just saying. But I had enough of a belief that, hey, those 2 little Benadryls might help. Did I really need that pill? No. But my consciousness wasn't there at that moment, at that time. So you do what you need to do as you're developing your consciousness. Amazing. You have something to add?
Well, not anything particularly reverent. I was just thinking, well, a Benadryl worked for our dog who had this thing with bees. She'd go out and eat them. So I guess Karen ought to have two.
So I used to, well, for a long time, I was with a partner in Denver, and he was a mountain man type of a guy, and used to go out in all kinds of weather with no jacket on, or, you know, and I would say, aren't you cold? You know, go put on a coat. And he'd say, no, I just tell myself I'm not cold. And I'm not cold anymore. So that kind of realizing that I'm not a body, you know. I mean, I'm not sure if I could do that in the middle of a blizzard or anything, but I've done that ever since then. That's been, I mean, I left Denver in 2012, so for all this time now, I've used that several times when I've been cold. I just tell myself I'm not cold, and then I'm not cold anymore.
Wow. Fantastic.
Well done.
Yeah. Anyone else? Got something else to share?
I just wanted to interject real quickly that's a wonderful example of how we can start to see the cracks in the illusion that is the world. Things that really shouldn't be are. When you start to see some lights or some, you know, something going on, or your body should be reacting a certain way and it's not, you can see the cracks in the illusion. So look for those and you'll see them.
I had one more that pertained to the T21. I don't remember how you said that. 21. It said it. Yeah.
Can you hold the mic?
Sorry, told you. I'm so sorry. Well, I had a little bit more another insight I wanted to mention about the text 21.11, where it says at the end, acknowledge, but that you have been mistaken, and all the effects of your mistakes will disappear. I used to do skills. I used to be a skills clinician, and that's one of the things that we used to say was that making mistakes is a basic human right. And it didn't really we used to say that, you know, and it didn't truly hit me until I read this in this way. And it's sort of like we used to say, you know, whenever some people have to learn the lessons the hard way, like they have to touch that burner in order to realize it's hot, don't touch it again, you know? And so and with that story that you were mentioning about Jesus and the lady, do not cast, ye who is without sin, do not cast, be the one to throw the first stone. Realizing that, sorry, I got a little bit sidetracked here. It doesn't matter how, I don't think God in general is keeping tracks, like you said. Just as long as you learn the lesson, that's what we're here to do. And it's our right as humans to be able to mess up. So we shouldn't have the fear of that. Yeah, if we do hurt others, then we have to pay that karma for it. And it probably, you know, will be something that we carry with us. But yeah, I kind of lost my train of thought, but I just wanted to put that in there, that I think it's important to know that it's a human right. We have that right to make mistakes.
Absolutely.
Oh, I thought you had a comment to add. That was it?
That was it.
Absolutely.
You didn't get any stings?
No, actually, I did have so this passage is, I mean, almost all, the course itself is very holistic, so you can enter it almost from any passage, from any workbook lesson, and get it, if you get it fully. And this one here, I am responsible for what I see. So, and as Karen said, if you have a loving heart, you're going to see more loving things. We all know that. But the course is actually, and the course is You were saying the easy way and the hard way. The Course is very upfront about there are many ways to get there, but this is probably the quickest.
That's a really good point. It actually says you can keep yourself from 1,000 years of lessons. The Course. I mean, that's how profound the Course really is. And Wendy's absolutely right that as you're reading the Course, it keeps repeating itself over and over and over again. And yet I've been at this at least a decade plus reading the Course, and I'm very dedicated. I like my, at least a good hour every morning. And if I have to wake up earlier to get that quiet hour, I will. And I read some passages and it's like, I'd never read that before. There's just so much of the layering that's going on and the repeating and the, it's an amazing thing to get that truth that's coming out. And let's read we're going to go up to the first workbook lesson, 171. Somebody want to read that on the sheet that Wendy handed out to us?
171.
God is but love, therefore so am I.
Right, thank you, yeah. And someone want to read number 2 now in the workshop from Alan Cohen's book. This says you are, starts at number 2.
You are an extension, an expression of God. God is, you are. Everything God is not, you are not. God is love and only love, and so are you.
There you go. We've already covered this, but again, to cover it again and again and again, and that is God is but love, therefore so am I. God is peace, and so am I. God is joy, and so am I. God is comfort, and so am I. God is strength, and so am I. God is courage, and so am I. Whatever it is that's the truth of being a perfect, holy, divine being who has a consciousness connected to God, that's who you are. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. And I think we pretty well have covered a lot of that particular thing. I do have a note here saying, look at lesson 229. I'm jumping around because that keeps you awake, right? So on the back here, workbook lesson 229, it's the second one from the bottom, the last one. Somebody want to read that?
Love, which created me, is what I am.
Again. You see how the Course just keeps going back again and again. How can I say this 1,000 ways so that you really get it? You are love. God created you as love. I am love. That's how God created you. It goes on and on and on. And it's just so wonderful. It really, truly is.
Can I read one?
Absolutely.
I don't know if we've read this one before, but given what's going on right now in the news and everything, people who act unkindly are calling for love. Evil has no power because it does not come from God. Love is the only power.
Fantastic. Do you have any comments to go with that?
Just that I think I've been watching the news too much recently. I've been watching, a lot of the coverage of what's going on with the indictments, and it just reminded me that people who act unkindly are calling for love, and it's so easy to just, project when you hear them saying something unkindly, to want to project, stop and, judge them and things like that, but really they're calling for love instead. So shooting love at them would work a lot better than hate.
Absolutely. Love is always better than hate. And the Course would also tell us that that person on the TV that you're sending love to is actually part of you, is an unhealed part of you, and they're there for you to notice that and do your own healing work.
Where everyone is a part of you. And that's kind of a tough thing to recognize, because at first you say, well, I have nothing to do with this. I mean, there's a part of our consciousness that still needs healed. Otherwise, like I said, it wouldn't be here. And it's just showing itself. And there's a point where everything in the craziness of the world and what's being said is all the news is fake. I mean, they were right about that. It is fake. It is an illusion. But if you want to respect the illusion, you got to double check where you're getting your source of information from. And I've discovered there's only really two places that absolutely, if you really want to know what happened, not from the mouse telling you something else, or the folks on the news screen trying to convince you of something that didn't happen. That's their right to say whatever they want. That's the freedom of speech, even if it's lying. But if you actually read the indictments, which you probably don't want to, because they're easy to read, but they're blatant at just the kind of crime based on our laws that have taken place. Read the indictments or the records in Congress where they're under oath to tell the truth. There's only two places that they absolutely have to tell the truth. So Rudy Giuliani comes out and he says, oh, well, I didn't really see these two black women in Alabama stuff votes in a box that led to then people calling them, harassing them for voter fraud. He said, oh, that's not true. That's what he says in the indictment. But then he says, but I don't agree with the harm that it caused. Because that's the only thing he's got. I mean, and then they still come out saying there was voter fraud, though there's not any evidence at all that that has happened. I mean, that's the world that we live in. So, you know, it's like the truth is the Course in Miracles says it doesn't matter who you're looking at. It's either love or it's a call for love. That's a very strong concept throughout the Course. That people who are purposely trying to mislead or not tell the truth or harm people, they're just calling for love. Tana, did you have?
Yeah, I think workbook lesson 50 kind of addresses the same thing. It says, I am sustained by the love of God. Here's the answer to every problem that will confront you today and tomorrow and throughout time. In this world, you believe you are sustained by everything but God. Your faith is placed in the most trivial and insane symbols. Pills, money, protected clothing, influence, prestige, being liked, knowing the right people, an endless list of forms of nothingness that you endow with magical properties, powers,
Yeah, thank you, Tana. And does someone want to read, it's the third one from the bottom, workbook lesson 67, Love Created Me.
Love created me like itself. Holiness created me holy. Kindness created me kind. Helpfulness created me helpful. Perfection created me perfect.
There it is. Says it again and again and again and again. I think for time's sake, I think we'll move on.
Next up you had number 3, Karen. Have we talked about
You want to?
Certainly, I'd love to read that. It's a good one. Reminds me of the Sting song. But anyway, every thought you think, words you speak, and action you take represents your choice between love and fear. Choose love.
Let's read number 5 in Alan Cohen's, and we'll move along on these others in the time that we have left. Starts off with the ego is an extremely
Limited idea of who you are. It is not equipped to guide you. It should not be consulted to make choices that bring you peace.
yes, and that's the ego. That part of us that edges God out. It doesn't say, "Oh, you are fabulous. You're perfect. You can get whatever you desire." That you're abundant. I mean, it doesn't say that at all. It says you're limited. And it will try to limit you in every way. And it's not equipped to guide you. And yet, that's the conflicted part of us, inside of us, in our heart, is it's the love or fear, the ego or the spirit within.
It's interesting to me that there really is nothing that says this is right and this is wrong. There are ways it says, this one is a perfect example, should not be consulted to make choices that bring you peace. It doesn't say that what you're doing is wrong. It's saying what you're doing doesn't bring you peace. So do something else that brings you peace. And I really like that. This is the idea that there's no right or wrong. And I can't believe I'm saying that. After the upbringing that I had and the training I've had in a lot of things. In music, there's a right and wrong. Right. No, there's not. There's the way to do it, that so-and-so does it. There's a way that somebody else does it. There's a way that somebody else does it. I mean, I went to the Janice Jaffe's tribute Friday night, and Joni Mitchell wrote things in one way, wrote both sides now. Joni wrote it one way. Janice interpreted it another way, and when Amanda sang it Friday night, she sang it totally different. It's the same song, kind of, but it's different every time with the interpretation. And that's what I think, there's a lot of that in the Course, in that there is the truth, but each of us has our own interpretation of the truth to learn the real truth. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I think Wendy has something to add about that.
I think you covered it, that really there is only the truth of God, and that is love. And the aspects of God, love, peace, joy, abundance, safety, health, those things, that is the truth of God. That is all that there is. But because our minds are unhealed, that's not what we see uniformly. And so it's, to us it's like, well, that's right and that's wrong. That's male, that's female, that's left, that's right. And really none of that duality exists in God. None of that's there. It's only the truth of God.
Someone else?
I saw a question waiting.
Okay. Thank you, Phyllis, for that. And that's where, I've had things come out of my mouth that other people are like, oh, well, why'd you say that? That seems kind of like off. And maybe it is. But if you really are trying to be guided by the Spirit, I've learned that, talking to someone or praying with someone or them having concern, and I'll just pause and say, Spirit, what's your message for me, for them? Actually, I just say, help. And then words come out of my mouth that are like, oh, well, that wasn't at all what I thought. But it's enough that the person says, oh, okay. You see, you're providing a way. Has anyone had that experience before where you've said something to someone and somebody has...
I was just, as we're saying all of this, I was just thinking of recently moving to Spencer, that I've been around numerous people that keep referring biblically to Revelation and the world is coming to an end. And I'm thinking, should I ask you how I should respond to that? And you're just telling me how I should respond. But I was just thinking that, and you're answering that. It's beautiful. Because I do run into that, and I try to just walk away from it. But then I'm also asking, am I drawing that to myself somehow? That I frequently seem to be around that type of conversation. And then they're willing to, if somebody else questions, they're willing to actually get into the Bible and start quoting, and I just walk away. But I liked the way you answered it. Thank you.
You know, when you're saying that, do you remember Billy Graham, and Billy Graham that, in 1977, I think, just a babe then. He preached about how we were in the last days. And when I was home with my mom, somebody from the church, Fundamental Church, came and he said, I listened to that Billy Graham in 1977, and all of it's true today too. This is the last days. And there is a lot of that discussion going on right now. And Eckhart Tolle says, the new, meaning the new earth, which is the earth that we will create a place of peace and harmony and love. We just have to find a better way, which is part of how the Course, this whole channeling of Jesus with Helen on the Course was because Helen and Bill, the two doctors and professors at Columbia, weren't getting along very well. Bill finally said, Helen, there's got to be a better way, and she agreed. And then she channels, as an atheist, as a Jew, this Course in Miracles, as this is the better way, you see. And so there's a lot of discussion about the new earth, and then Eckhart Tolle says the new is already here. It's just that the old is making a lot of noise dying. And so I think sometime I'll do a talk a little bit on Revelations, because, the ultimate thing about Jesus coming again, in these last days, is that it's how you in your heart are birthing the Christ. When you are born, you are created with the Christ, the divine in you. The last days are the second coming. It could be the third, the fourth, the fifth, the sixth. But it's Christ is again being birthed in you, and it's coming out. The last judgment is the last time you judge. That's really, if you look at the mystical, metaphysical interpretation of a lot of Revelation, that's what's going on. The new earth. You'll hear a lot of this. And if you're connected to the Galactic Federation, you're going to hear a lot about the age of Aquarius and all the things that are happening. It's an exciting time to live, because I think there truly is a huge transformation going on, because our systems are falling apart. Almost all of them are falling apart. And they're going to have to get rebuilt. And we can rebuild them in peace and love and joy. That's the new earth. Yeah. And Revelation is the Bible. It kind of takes you from Genesis, you're born, to the revelation of revealing your true self again. And everything in between is just the god-awful consciousness that people have about God and each other.
Mr. Putin wants to rebuild the stage.
Mm-hmm. Do you have something else to say with that? Okay.
Well, there are songs, hymns and songs all throughout fundamental Christianity as well as New Thought music that say every day is a new day. Every day is a new day. Every moment is a new moment. So when you think about the new earth or the new anything, it's like that's every moment of every life, because your life, your spirit is being created anew every moment. And last just means the one that's just passed. You know, these are the last days. Well, yesterday was the last day, but tomorrow's the next day.
Right.
You know,
Right.
so,
I love it.
yeah.
I love it. Yeah.
The last day, the last judgment, the last time you judge. Yep. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and whip us right through this because we only have 5 minutes. We're having so much fun.
We can continue it next time, too. Because we're not even, we're halfway through. I wouldn't.
Okay. You are the leader of all things.
I like this relationship.
I honor you. I bless you. Namaste. Now she's telling us that we must go. Anyone else? Any other last thoughts that you may have? Okay.
I do have another thought, or I've got so many thoughts going through, but there was that line about, let me see if I can find it. It was the one about there not being right or wrong or evil or whatever else like that. I was watching a series on Gaia, of all things, and it was, I don't know if y'all into this, but Gaia is the place to watch some TV if you want to level up. But anyway, it was talking about how God at the beginning was just pure thought. And it was like God has access to every book and has read them all, but was unable to go anywhere. So he thought, what if I was all these things? And it created the polarity of the negative, which God is, the light is positive, and then there's negative, and then it started to spin around. So anyway, there's a whole thing if you watch this. But the point is, God is literally trying to see everything from every angle. And I really felt like this made sense to me, and I thought this was truth, because when it started to divide again, it created our reality, and that is why we are experiencing life and learning all these things. But this is where we act it out in physical form. So there really is, as you say, no right or wrong, because there's only polarity. And God is literally trying to see it from every single angle. So it's all good, because that's what God wants.
Is that what we say when we're in pain? It's all good? Is that how you handle it?
Well, the question is that how you handle it when you're in pain? You say it's all good. My response to that is, you know, God is in everything. If you have the eyes of Christ and you see the light in everything. But God is not in rape, is not in murder, is not in pain, is not in suffering. But you have to look beyond that to see the light. Those are veils to the light. So when you say God is in everything, it's really perhaps more helpful to say God is behind or beyond what you're seeing, if in fact what you're seeing is not love or something contrary. That's, I think, where the truth is. But you have to kind of come up with what works for you. And if the Galactic Federation is what works for you now, and it helps you get to a point of, you know, thinking of a greater perspective about God, and it's loving, and it's kind, and it's holy, and it's perfect for you, knock yourself out. There's many ways. It's all about ascending and walking or stepping on a ladder. You know, it's kind of that, in high school, you know, it was a Stairway to Heaven song, right? You know, at least when I was in high school, you know, and it's a step at a time, a step at a time, a step at a time. And so thank you so much. It's just been...
Like ascending above the pain. It's still, you're still in pain, but there's a way that it can take you out of the pain or to a higher vibration so that you're feeling the pain less. If that makes any sense.
Are you breathing through it, or what is there a technique, or rather than...
There's all kinds of techniques.
Yeah. This
To
is...
acknowledge it, right?
Yeah.
Yes,
You don't pretend like it's not there.
absolutely.
Yeah.
You absolutely acknowledge it. It's your reality in that moment, and it is painful and it is awful. But hold that vision of there is only love, and there's a way out of the pain. Don't minimize the pain. Don't pretend it's not there. But what that pain is, a good way to use that pain is to let it point you towards what needs to be healed to let you move on.
It has no power over me.
And it has no power. not that it has no, well, it in that moment, even though you can say, even though it feels like this pain has power over me in this moment, ultimately it doesn't.
Yeah, this too shall pass. The other reality is we always say know the truth but respect the illusion. You fall down, you break your ankle, go get it fixed. Get a plate, whatever it takes. You break your leg, go to the doctor, get it fixed. Our reality of how we live and what we see, is in this body. Respect the illusion. Take care of yourself, but know the truth. Know the truth. The truth is I am not a body. I am a spirit, eternal being, and that can help you move beyond and find your recovery even faster. I'm going to take 3 comments, and then we're closing. Okay? I'm going to start here with you.
Okay, this was very important to me, especially this week. You don't need to be or stay sick, poor, dumped, lonely, or hurt. These conditions are the result of interpretations you lay over events. When you accept 100% of the responsibility for the choices you have made, you gain 100% of the power to make new and better choices. Nothing external to your mind can hurt or injure you in any way. There is no cause beyond yourself that can reach down and bring oppression. No one but yourself affects you. There is nothing in the world that has the power to make you ill or sad or weak or frail. But it is you who have the power to dominate all things you see by merely recognizing what you are.
Very well said.
Thank you. Nice.
I started reading and listening to Marianne Williams or Williamson? Williamson. So she has a program for how to apply A Course in Miracles to emotional eating. And one of the prayers is when you're feeling, for me, emotional eating is accompanied by some anxiety. And so she says, Spirit, bringing in that help, Spirit, feed this hunger and change my mind. Change my mind to the right mind, which is remembering that I am a thought in the mind of God, that I am not this body, and I found that to be really helpful.
Perfect. Thank you very much. And I think we'll end here.
Just that about pain, and this could be emotional pain or physical pain. I had a very good friend who was in an accident where he crushed his leg, and he didn't want to go on, opioids or whatever, and he developed an idea through research of having a dialogue with the pain. And he was able to, not immediately, but over time, speak to the pain, and then it would let up. He would say it would let up a little bit. It wouldn't completely go away, but it would let up to a tolerable level because he had a crushed leg. So, and he was able to walk again. They told him he would never walk again. And he'd be in a wheelchair, and he was able to walk again. But he used these tools, and we can use tools too. Like in my case, I have a lot of depression, and I have tools that I use. Music is one that gets me to a higher vibration so that I can go on with my day and not, have the courage to get out of bed or whatever. So those types of tools can either distract you, or it's like it doesn't go away, but it gets better.
Thank you.
I just want to piggyback on what Lisa just said, because in my own experience and also in my experience of coaching my clients to go through pain, one of the very practical ways to release the pain really is to just breathing into where the pain is. because by connecting our breath with our body, that's when we make ourselves stay in that present moment. And when you do that, you become the observer of your pain and your body. Because what pain is actually, if you look at it from physical sense, it's just the stress. And when you are very actively involved with that sensation in your body, you're actually releasing your body, you're relaxing your body, and so that the pain would just go away. So next time, if you experience pain, just try it. Just breathe into it. And then Lisa mentioned that you can talk with the pain. That's one way to keep you focused in that moment. But I think breathing for most people will be the easiest. Just very consciously breathing into the spot. And then this technique not just work with the pain, the studies have shown that it works with any kind of cravings and addictions as well. So you become the observer of that thing, of the substance that you crave. But then just, it doesn't just happen immediately after just one try, but you just keep going to it. Eventually you conquer the craving or the addiction. Same idea.
You can ask for help from spirit, divine mind, spirit. You don't have to do it on your own. Yes.
Well, I mean, the reality is all of you in this room had the consciousness for us all to come together. So I don't look at it, Wendy and I are not teachers here. Your consciousness has us up here at this place, but we are students right along with you. And what a joy. Do you want to continue?
Oh, yes.
Okay, then it looks probably October 18th. We'll ask the spiritual leadership. We'll continue these last few that we didn't get to, and then probably do that lessons and actually go through how do you get your mind, if you have something disturbing your peace, what are the keys, according to the Course in Miracles, of changing that back to peace. And have a good day. And thank you again so much.
I just want to say thank you so much. This is such a great day.